The Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove in Oshogbo, Osun State, southwest Nigeria, is one of the last remnants of primary high forest in southern Nigeria. The site, a natural habitat that has been preserved for over 400 years, has served as both a pilgrim point as well as a tourist center for millions of people who visit the site annually to worship and celebrate the Osun goddess that is believed to inhabit the river that runs through the grove, giving the water the ability to heal and grant wishes of its believers.
Osun Grove happened to be a site that we all refer to as a living site. It is a living site just because activities that have been carried out over the years are still performed the way it used to be then. And secondly, it is a site where the worshippers do come to perform every 5th of the day, which means 5 days. They do come. For example, in churches, we go to churches during the week, but on Sunday, we christen it to be, we go to church on Sunday. Likewise, the Muslim goes to mosque on Friday. So, despite the fact that the devotees do come interval, but they have a 5 day, which they call Ojose. Aside this, the uniqueness of this site is the name Oshogbo was derived from this site. The appellation of the king was derived from this site.
From the entrance, one could feel the tranquility that comes with the well-preserved forest. A little further down comes another feeling of an elevated being's dwellings. This is the Osun-Osogbo Sacred Grove, one of the last sacred forests in Nigeria, along the banks of the Osun River, just outside the city of Oshogbo, Osun State, southwest Nigeria. In this forest of 75 hectares of undisturbed areas of land, no residential building is allowed, no killing of any kind of animal, no fishing, no hunting, or felling of trees.
Apart the fact that it is 75 hectares of the core zone and 47 hectares of the buffer zone. It's one of its kind in sub-Saharan Africa and the second UNESCO World Heritage Site in Nigeria. The kind of people or crowd that comes around, one will be marveled, why this? But it is a festival and a river that people believes in. Because of the sacredness, you can't cut a tree, you can't fish. And if you are not a devotee, there are certain activities you don't do so that you don't blame yourself.
The one path that cuts right through the grove is lined on either sides with sanctuaries, illustrations of traditional Yoruba deities and primary high forest. Adekunle Olatunji is the curator and site manager of the grove that has existed for over 4 centuries. On a tour of the sacred forest, Olatunji describes how the name Oshogbo came about and what the grove stands for.
At Ipole, some kilometers from here is in Iboku. There's an hunter. It's not just an hunter that going to the bush to kill rattle. It's a big hunter that hunts for elephants, bigger animals. In one of his sojourn, then from Ipole looking for where they can get water, they now got to this site. On getting to this site, he was astounded. We were looking for almost a 40 kilometers from here, looking for water, still large water here. So he decided to go back to inform the king. My brother, we are hunting, I got to his place and I saw this river. So the hunter then was Oguntimeyin, while the king then at Ibolemu is Laroye. So the two of them came down to the site, seeing what they wanted. So they decided to settle down at the bank of the river. So in one of their trying to rent the tent, a tree now fell into the river. And a voice came out of the river saying, Enyoma Daniwolo, you have broken my time, but 84 kokwa. So the two of them were so shocked. Who is this person? Simultaneously, the spirit now answered, Oshogbo pele, Oshogbo rora, Oshogbo pele, Oshogbo. That was when they knew they are in Oshogbo. Literally meaning Oshogbo. So now, they now felt, what is the next thing to do? In Yoruba then, if something strange happened, you do divination. During their divination, they wanted to know what's happening. So the Babalawo now said, Osun dwell here. You cannot stay with Osun. So they moved from the bank of the river, moved up. They now built a hut. That hut today is what we call the first palace. And there's these promises between them that if we say we should leave this place, as a powerful person, they felt, how will somebody in the river be telling us to leave? So if we are to leave, what will you do for us? And I said, okay, if you are to leave, I will make you prosper. There is no war that will conquer you. Do my bidding, and every year there must be somebody from your lineage to come and bring object of appeasement to me every year.
But the grove wasn't always this beautiful and serene. In fact, there was a time it was completely infested with termites until an Austrian artist, Susan Wenger, and her husband Uli Bayer arrived to save the sacred monument. Wenger devoted some 50 years of her life to preserving the forest, and with the help of local craftsmen in the city, she transformed the sacred grove into a sculptural garden with compelling artworks and objects of habitation. Because of them, this 200 acres is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site.
When Mama started with the Osun Groves, she started at the area we called Ayedakun. Ayedakun is also part of the groves. Our first two sculptures are still there, where we have Obatala and Yemo. And she did that, not in one place, at the main shrine, Ebu Yamako, and inside the forest there are the sculptures there that she made. And Mama would do the art with meditating, like communication with the deity before doing any form of art. And Mama got her inspiration, from there, because she stayed there for a while.
She was invited to come and see or assist us in treating this termite attack. In doing that, she now fell in love with the culture. So she is so powerful and mystic that if she sleeps, revelations of what she is expected to do for this place will come to her. Then she now felt, for somebody of her status, there's a need for her to have people to work with. Then she now got in touch with the Oba. Then there and then some interested indigene that were into art then were introduced to her. So that was why they formed what we call a new sacred art movement. With this new sacred art movement, from instruction from her, that's why we have all these structures.
Shaded by a canopy of trees with a flight of stone leading downwards, the inner grove lies within a natural depression, marking the exact spot where the first palace of the founder of Oshogbo was located. The ancient palace with its ornate pillars and elegant designs has remained in its original state for decades, and its sacredness upheld for as long as it stands. A short walk away from the palace will take you to the Osun River, which on a normal day looks just like any other river except for the utter stillness that pervades the atmosphere around it and the occasional calving in the midst of its waters. otherwise called the Herbs of Osun, because according to its devotees, this calm flowing river transcends ordinary water. Everything about the Osun Grove revolves around this river. It's like the life of this place. You take it away, the entire place becomes lifeless. This is where the history of the grove actually started from. And every year, thousands of devotees of the Osun goddess converge by the bank of this river, where they pray, believing that all of their problems will be solved by the goddess.
If it is just a mere river, why the crowd? If it is just a mere river, why are people taking this water? I'm using this water in context because here we don't have river, we don't have water. Please, we don't have water. Once you are here, you want agbo, herbs. People that needed one thing or the other comes here to seek for assistance from Osun goddess. Believing, as I said, it's your faith. Believing he or she will do it for them. Whatever is being taken here is herbs, is agbo. If you take it with your faith, be you me, you will be healed. It has been proven beyond reasonable doubt.
While the grove is the site of Osun's most sacred shrine, many Yoruba deities are also depicted here with sculptures that are centuries old and shrines where their devotees worship. Despite the sanctity attached to it, managing the grove is not without its own challenges.
There's no lumber that will come into this site that will not pray will sleep off 72 hours. So that before we wake up, we would have cut down all the trees. We do have butchers, and despite the native laws that we do use to operate, because here you are not supposed to hunt. If you are caught, you'll be taken to the enforcement agency through the authority of Osogbo. And because of developmental pressure, as the town grows, you are bound to see people wanting to build closer to the site, thereby giving you problem. You have the challenge, but God is helping us through that native law. That native law, don't cut, don't fish. And aside that, the native law, I will tell you authoritatively, because if all of us goes home, we have night security if they are here. If you eventually decide that you want to catch any fish, you will cook it from now till that kingdom come, it will not done. So you will definitely put yourself into trouble.
Once sparkling and clear and home to a variety of fish, today the sacred river is murky and brown. It is now under constant threat from pollution from waste disposal and other human activities. Another fascinating thing about the grove is the standalone suspended bridge right at the heart of the forest and just above the Osun River, built some 87 years ago. The bridge has no pillar holding it because they say the Osun goddess forbids it. One of the unique things to see at the grove is this suspension bridge. We understand it was built in 1935, commissioned in 1936, and the reason why the bridge was constructed was to enable people around here move goods now, especially palm products, from one end of the bridge to the other. And up till this day, the bridge is standing. It's one bridge a lot of tourists who come to this area love to see. Despite the gradual fading away of celebrated African culture and tradition, the Osun Oshogbo Sacred Grove is one cultural phenomenon that has not only stood the test of time, but also become a reference point for people from this part of the world. The grove remains more or less pristine, leaving visitors with this sense of peace and a connection to the dwellings of an elevated being and the ancient Yoruba tradition.